Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is a beautiful Wednesday here on the campus of Susquehanna University. It's Season 3. It's Episode 4 of Empire State Hoops. I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Matt Vargo. And today's episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, we've been trying our best to keep our eyes here on the NBA season with all the focus on the World Series behind us and the NFL season about halfway through, Week 9, Week 10. And it's been up and down, of course, with all of that stuff. But nonetheless, time to talk some New York Knicks basketball here on a beautiful Wednesday evening. And from what we've seen out of the New York Knicks so far on this road trip, obviously they play Atlanta tonight as of this recording, which we might touch on that a little bit. We'll see how things are going so far. But regarding this case so far, the first game on the road down at South Beach in Miami, my oh my, Karl Anthony Towns. In this game, 44 points, 13 rebounds with a monster performance against the Miami Heat. The Knicks were down at this game at points here in the second half late, but then they made the big-time rally late in the fourth quarter, and Karl Anthony Towns came through. Jalen Brunson dropped 22, and that's the rest is history right there. The Knicks get the win on the road in Miami.
Yeah, they did, and among the other things chewing up our time away from the NBA, can't forget about the Susquehanna sports. Field hockey's got their playoff game tonight, so shout out them. Susquehanna football's going to the playoffs. The basketball season's underway here at SU as well. But on to the game itself, as you said. Yeah, Cat, I mean, he was phenomenal. 44 points, 13 rebounds, 17 to 25 shooting. He hit 4 of his 5 threes. And especially going up against Bam Adebayo, who we all know is an excellent defender at the center position. I was stunned by the way he just completely dominated him. He got everything he wanted. Adebayo was really bad in this game. 3 of 7, only 11 points, and only three total rebounds as well. Like, it was alarming to see that. And especially what made it even more crucial for the Knicks is that nobody else outside of maybe Brunson played all that well. I mean, even Brunson, then he shot 6 for 18, so it's not like he had a phenomenal night shooting the ball by any means. Mikal Bridges had kind of a rough outing. He only shot 6 of 16, but he did hit 4 threes, so kudos to him. And the Knicks really, for significant portions of this game, only really played 6 guys. Like, Sims and Payne only played less than 13 minutes, each of them. McBride was the only guy who got any substantial time off the bench at 25 minutes. But yeah, Miami's always a tough place to play. They've got that Heat culture. They got playoff Jimmy. And like I said, I thought Adebayo would play a lot better than he did. But Cat, I mean, hey, that's why you make a move for a guy like Cat to go up against some of the better defensive centers in the league. And they're going to be going up against some other good, low, should I say, front court defenders later on in the schedule as we'll see. But yeah, Cat, tip my hat off to him. He was great, and he really outplayed everybody on Miami's side.
Did what he had to do, and of course, like you said, locking down Bam Adebayo, one of the better centers in this league, especially in the Eastern Conference in that division for Miami. And the Knicks did what they had to do, took care of business on the road in Miami, and then it shifted up over to Detroit, to the team that we have just talked so much about. I know the Pistons, we get it, the crazy rebuild, the never-ending rebuild.
Since 2009, ladies and gentlemen, keep that in mind too.
It's been going for that long. Many coaching changes, many top draft picks that have ended up into busts. Some ended up into just role players.
Killian Hayes, anybody?
A name, of course, to bring up, who is now on the Brooklyn Nets.
I didn't even know he was still in the league anymore. I'll keep it real with you.
Yeah, it's funny to mention that. So, yeah, he's on the Brooklyn Nets now. Of course, Andre Drummond, who they've had in the past. But to the point, the Knicks get the blowout win on the road. When I was looking at the score of this game, I was shocked, honestly, but really not surprised, since we've kind of talked about how, like, every team in the NBA pretty much has the Pistons number, since they are the worst team in the NBA.
Not the Sixers, I'll tell you that. They're the only team that they beat. Actually, no, that's a lie. The Pistons have actually won 2 games since that Knicks game, funnily enough.
They beat the Nets, I'm pretty sure, I think.
Yeah, and they beat the Lakers, too. So, hey, baby steps for the Pistons. We like to see that.
Maybe there's something to it. But to the point of this game, Mikal Bridges, 21. Jalen Brunson, 36 to lead all scorers. And Karl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby also with 21 of their own. So you had, of course, 4 out of the 5 starters there contributing. Josh Hart, of course, contributed as well. So the starters all getting in double figures. It's what you like to see. And we're not surprised they won this game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. And what you also like to see is that you're playing a bad team in their building. Just show up and dominate right out of the gate. Because if you look at it, they won the first quarter 39-13 on the road, and we know Detroit's bad, but you're up 26 after the first quarter. As you said, Cat and Anunoby both 8 in this game. They each hit 8 shots for 21 points. Brunson, maybe the best game of the season early on for him. I mean, he had 36, and he shot the ball very well. And they locked up the Pistons. They don't have a ton of offensive explosiveness. Really, it was just kind of let Cade Cunningham get his and let everybody else beat you. And that worked out pretty well. Cade was the only guy who played decently on the Pistons. And, hey, maybe they're not as bad as they were in years past, but we still think they're a bad team. Show up, get the job done. That's exactly what they did. And really a complete team win. Not much more to say about that.
Yeah, it was pretty much basic from the start. Run the ball. Get ahead of the defense on the fast break and transition. The Knicks were able to do that on a lot of possessions in this game.
Yep.
And they were also able to get the shots down and passes going to perfection, getting the open guy with the open shot. And that's pretty much what it led to in this win over the Detroit Pistons, which took place last week. Now, coming into this week, back on Monday, this was the game really I had circled on this road trip because of the
Rockets.
with the Houston Rockets, as I was just about to get to. With the young team that they have and the young core they have, they're trying to build off last year. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs last year. They were a couple of games off from making the play-in tournament last year after losing to Golden State later in the season. And with the core they have, Fred VanVleet, Dylan, the villain Brooks, like you mentioned last episode, and Alfred Sengun, he is the guy. And he's the guy the Knicks were not able to stop in this game. And that's what led to the Rockets doing what they were able to do in it. And Sengun with 25 points, and they just could not stop him at all. Even though Brunson led the way with 29 points, it wasn't enough for the Knicks on the road in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, the Rockets, we all know they're an ascending team. Like you said, they got a lot of good young players. What's funny about Sengun is that run they went on at the end of the season to even have a chance to make the play-in, pretty sure he was out for the majority of that stretch where they won, I think, 9-10 in a row, something along the lines like that. But yeah, having him back in the lineup was huge. He's obviously one of the more underrated players in the league, but also got to give a shout out to someone like Fred VanVleet. He also played pretty well. Jalen Green, I mean, he's so hot and cold. I mean, he's got talent though, but he didn't play particularly well in this game, and you would like to see the Knicks take advantage of that more. But how about the Rockets defense only holding the Knicks to 97 points? And again, not a lot of good shooting nights looking at the Knicks looking at the Knicks box score. Only Anunoby shot above 50% in this game for any player. Brunson had a really off night. He did have 29, but he had a plus-minus of -8. And Bridges and Hart just didn't have it in this game, which was a little bit more surprising because you'd think on the wings they'd have the advantage over guys like Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. And Dylan Brooks even played decently himself, 4 of 9 for Houston. And he's honestly been playing a lot better now that he's escaped Memphis. And yeah, I think the Rockets, they're ascending. They're 4th in the West right now. No shame in losing to them early in the season. But when we start talking about the other teams coming up on the schedule, about a certain player who might be on the move, and whoever's listening might know who we're talking about because one team out east is really down bad right now. Rockets are a team to keep an eye on if that player is going to get dealt anywhere at the deadline or maybe at the end of the season. Just throwing it out there.
Well, especially when you mention a team like the Houston Rockets and talk about the rebuild they have gone through, moving on from the James Harden era and, pretty much getting a top draft pick. It lands them with Jalen Green, and it's pretty much a young core they have. Coaching changes going throughout that as well. And just a couple years now of just not making the playoffs after all the success the Houston Rockets had of not being able to reach the NBA Finals for the first time since 1995, and they haven't been able to do that since Hakeem was there, of course, back in the 90s when they won those back-to-back championships. But when you think about this for the Rockets, it's a step in the right direction. And with what they've been able to do, it's really good to look at, and a team, like you said, on the rise in the Western Conference with how loaded the West is. There's room for them in that play-in spot. I'm not sure about playoffs yet, but I think there's room for them within the 4 teams that can make the play-in tournament. But getting to the point now of when the Knicks come back home against this team that is 1-5, which nobody expected out of the gate. The Milwaukee Bucks with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo are 1-5.
1-6, actually.
1-6, correct? Was wrong about that. 1-6. So when you're looking at a team like this right now, they're gonna have to go into the Garden on Friday night, where the Knicks play the best on Friday night lights, and you really got to think about this for the Bucks. You lose this game, you're 1-7, and it's just it can only go downhill from here, because last year when they hired Doc Rivers, they were a top 5 team. They went down to the 6th seed, obviously where they finished with, and they finished as the 3 seed, getting upset by the Pacers. And you would think that Doc Rivers would not have his job after that, but he still has his job. And looking at this season now, what you think the Bucks would do is try to build off of the failure from last year and play a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
They have not been able to do that. Do they turn it around against the Knicks, or do the Knicks find a way to win? That's the main question about this game on Friday.
You would think that they should be able to beat the Knicks, especially because, like I said, they're 1-6. Their lone win of the year was in Philly against the Sixers without Paul George or Joel Embiid, which shows how lacking the Sixers are when it comes to quality players outside of Maxey, without the hypothetical big 3. Embiid's even yet to play a game and shoved a reporter, and now he's suspended 3 games. But yeah, that's pretty rough. Overall with the Bucks, I don't think they're this bad, but if they continue, even if they just play like 500 basketball the rest of the way, like, are they really going to try to buy at the deadline? I mean, I look at their schedule. They play Utah tomorrow, and then they play the Knicks in MSG, so it's like a back-to-back for them. You would think that they would beat Utah, but I don't know, will they? Because they got rolled by Memphis, back-to-back close losses to the Cavs, who are 8-0 right now, so they look like the real deal. A double-digit loss to the Bulls, a double-digit loss to the Nets and the Celtics. Like, what is going on with Milwaukee? I don't know. Doc Rivers, at this rate, he will not have a job past the All-Star break if this continues. I think that the Knicks will win this game because I just don't know what is going on with Milwaukee. Giannis has been putting up good numbers. Dame, is he on washed? Is he on washed alert? Brook Lopez, he's getting up there in age too. And outside of those 3, like outside of Bobby Portis, like, what do they have that makes you think they're going to win a championship? It's not like they can make another move because they already gave up so many assets. First to get Drew Holiday and then to bring in Dame. So this is as bad could get when it comes to contention for the Bucks. If they do have to try to trade guys, I think Brook could maybe get you something. Giannis will get you a haul. Similar to what the the Nets got for KD, what the Jazz got for Gobert, or something like that. But for this kind of game, the Knicks, they should beat the Bucks at MSG nonetheless. No excuse.
Yeah, completely agreed. And I think when you look at a team like this, I'm not going to say they're the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA, but just
at least the Cowboys have a reason to be bad.
Yeah, that's just because the Cowboys are just an up and down team every year outside of last year's success. But we're basketball here, not the NFL. But to get into the point, it's the Bucks are just it seems like question marks all around the organization right now with the start they got off this year. They looked great against the Sixers in their first game of the season. Since then, it's just gone down. It's gone down, and I don't know where it's going to go from here. But for the Knicks, you look at this, they need to win this game. I think it's a huge game going into the weekend, and good momentum for them, trying to stay above 500, which is what they're looking to do.
And they also have an extra day of rest compared to Milwaukee because they're playing Atlanta tonight. And Atlanta's also not really anything to write home about. They're 9th in the East right now. I don't think they'll stay there. They lost back-to-back to the Wizards. Just let that sink in. They lost back-to-back to the Wizards, first at home by 2, then in D.C. by 13. And then they lost to the Kings, and then they lost by 30 to the Celtics. They did beat the Pelicans, and, I mean, I have no idea. The Pelicans are such a hot and cold group, and right now they're kind of down bad. But if you'll have an extra day of rest, you'll probably roll Atlanta, so you might even get extra rest in a weird way playing Milwaukee, so they should win the next 2 games.
That's what the Knicks are looking to do as we'll head into our first break here. And when we come back from our break, we will preview some more games coming up. On the road against the Pacers for the second time this season. They'll be playing Indiana. Then they'll be playing your 76ers in Philadelphia. And then they will be playing the Chicago Bulls. And we'll talk about all of that right after the break here on Season 3, Episode 4 of Empire State Hoops. We will be right back.
Hey there, basketball fans. Are you ready to take your love for the game to a whole new level? Well, listen up. We've got something that will make your hoop dreams come true. Introducing Sport Pros USA, the ultimate destination for all your backyard sport court needs. Whether you're a diehard Knicks fan or just looking for some slam dunk fun with your family, Sport Pros USA has got you covered. Picture this. It's a sunny afternoon in New York, and you step out onto your very own custom-built backyard basketball court. The court where legends are born and memories are made. A court where you can unleash your inner baller and shoot hoops like your favorite Knicks players. But it's not just about basketball. It's about family, friends, and fun. Whether you're hosting a game of horse with your buddies or teaching your kids how to dribble and shoot, Sport Pros USA brings the magic of the game right to your doorstep. Our courts are more than just a place to play. They're a place to connect, bond, and create unforgettable moments. And with Sport Pros USA, you can have it all, right in your own backyard. We're not just building courts, we're building dreams. Dreams of buzzer beaters, comebacks, and endless laughter. So why wait? Give us a call at 877-HOOPS-NJ or visit sportprosusa.com today to start designing your very own backyard basketball court. Remember, at Sport Pros USA, we believe that every home deserves a court, and every family deserves the joy of playing together. So don't just watch the game, be a part of it.
And we are back here once again. This is Season 3, Episode 4 of Empire State Hoops. I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Matt Vargo. And in the first half of our episode, we recapped several of the games on the road trip so far for the Knicks, which were Miami, Detroit, Houston, and Atlanta, which we kind of briefly talked about a little bit, and they got that game tonight before they'll be heading home to play the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday night. So, looking into next week's games for the New York Knicks, they will be on the road in Indianapolis, taking on the Pacers for the second time this season, as they did the first time in their home opener back on the 25th of October. And this game, you're probably expecting a similar battle. The Pacers obviously did not look that good in the home opener for the Knicks. What do you think the Pacers do? How do the Knicks adjust, especially coming off the game against Milwaukee, which we'll see how that goes as well. So what do you think the adjustments are for Indiana going into this game?
Well, obviously, Tyrese Halliburton has to play better because he was god-awful against the Knicks at MSG. Second game of the season, I believe, right?
Yep.
Ever since then, they've played a little bit better, but they're still kind of hot and cold. They're the only team to beat the Celtics thus far. They beat them in overtime, and most recently, at the time of this recording, they beat the Mavericks. So they're playing a little bit better. I think that it's not going to be anywhere near as easy as it was in MSG because you're playing in Indiana this time. I can't recall anybody on the Pacers really playing that well in the first game against the Knicks. So I feel like Halliburton's definitely going to have a bounce-back game. I think they try to limit Cat because Cat had a very strong game last time these teams faced off. So I think overall for the front court of the Pacers, which is primarily Siakam and Turner and Halliburton, I'm expecting a much better performances from that big three. And who knows, maybe the Knicks are riding high after back-to-back. We'd imagine blowout wins against Milwaukee and Atlanta, and you're due for a little bit of a stumble. That could happen here, but I think it's going to be a closer game, and I think I'll take the Knicks, but it'll be a close game. I'll give the Pacers the benefit of the doubt. I don't think the Knicks are head and shoulders above them like they were in that second game.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Close game, coin flip, toss-up, whatever you want to call it. It can be pretty much that, and with both of these teams, of course, we know in the past, the playoffs last year and how that went, of course. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it's going to be similar to that with how the pacing was and how quick these teams moved down the floor and the defense they both put on with their centers. So we're going to see a lot of that, lots of rebounding in this game, lots of toughness, physicality. So that'll be fun to look forward to. And now the fun part where you get to be excited for your beloved Philadelphia 76ers. And we did talk about them in the preseason a little bit, and with their revamped roster with Paul George now in the mix alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, who has not played a game yet this year.
He is not.
And I'm sure you would love to go into that right now. And for this game, I believe it's in Philadelphia, I believe.
It is.
So for the Knicks going in on the road in Philly, I mean, they did it last year in the playoffs, so I really can't say that. So
They did.
there's not really much. I mean, yes, it's a challenge going into Philly and that hostile crowd. We know how the 76er fans are. So what are you expecting out of this game from your Sixers, and how do you think the Knicks handle the environment there at the Wells Fargo Center?
Well, Joel Embiid, first off, he hasn't played a game this year, which has been disappointing. And look, you can hate Joel Embiid for as much as you want, but you got to keep it real. They are nothing without Joel Embiid. As much as you might hate his personality and his flopping and all that, this organization, don't pretend like they're better off without him, because they are not. It's been rough to start the season. They've lost 3 in a row at this point. Yeah, it'll be the first game of the NBA like in-season tournament, I believe, when these two teams face off. I think it's on a Tuesday night at 7:30. But Joel Embiid is scheduled to come back for that game because he's got to serve the 3-game suspension. I forget, he shoved a reporter. Like, come on. They play the Clippers, then the Lakers, and then the Hornets before they play the Knicks. So the suspension will end with that Knicks game. And I think this is one game that the Knicks, I think, will lose. Not just saying that because I'm a Sixers fan, but you have to imagine Wells Fargo Center, Joel Embiid making a season debut. We'll finally get to see Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid all playing together. And the Suns, who are looking pretty good right now, even without Embiid and just Paul George coming back, they had a chance to beat them. Even with Paul George not even really playing that well. He shot 4 of 14 against the Suns. But KD was awesome, and they snatched it at the very end. I think that it's an entertaining game. Obviously, you got the bad blood from the playoff series last year. I think with a refreshed and recharged Joel, Maxey and George both playing, I think the Sixers will win this. But again, that might just be me talking with my heart instead of my head. Like, you're more than willing to call me out on that.
I'm actually not going to call you out on it because I believe that the Sixers are going to win this game. I'm not just saying that just because Embiid's going to come back, just because, like you said, Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid all on the floor at the same time. I think it's going to add up to success, and I think they will beat the Knicks. I'm not just saying that as a Knicks fan, like with something happening like that and they just take a downfall. You're not going to win every game. The Knicks are not going to win every game in the season. And this is a game where you think like the in-season tournament with, it's going to have a playoff atmosphere. So you'd expect the Sixers to come out fighting a little bit more than these past few games where they've struggled. So I definitely expect them to turn it around and try to win this game in Philadelphia, of course, in front of their home fans. You don't want to lose to the Knicks again like you did last year, of course. So
yeah, it's also bad vibes because, and also if you look at it from the way the schedules align for these two teams, the Sixers will have been back from like a long West Coast road trip. Like I say, they played Phoenix, they play the Clippers, and they play the Lakers, and then they are home for the Hornets, then the Knicks. The Knicks on the other end, they're kind of like on a weird, like long road trip where you have Miami, Detroit, Houston, Atlanta. You make a brief stop at MSG to play the Bucks, but then you're back on the road playing the Pacers, and then you're back on the road again playing the Sixers. Like, that's got to wear you out at some point. So that's another thing that kind of factors into why I think the Sixers are going to beat the Knicks in that game. Yeah,
I completely agree, and obviously we'll see what happens with it. It's going to be a fun game to watch, definitely, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it's definitely on national TV. It's got to be, since Tuesday night should be TNT, I believe.
I think so. I'm going to take a look. I'm not seeing anything concrete, but it has the makings of what should be a primetime game, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. With, of course, the New York-Philly rivalry with not just basketball, but, of course, Major League Baseball, the NFL, of course, with the Giants and the Eagles. I wouldn't include the Jets in there because they are awful against they've won one single game against the Eagles.
And Zach Wilson won it, so you love
yeah. Whatever. It's wacky Zachy Wilson. It is what it is. But anyways, we got one more game to talk about here before we close out the episode. That will be the Knicks against the Chicago Bulls. Now for Chicago, in the offseason, they lost DeMar DeRozan to the Kings. They lost Alex Caruso to the Thunder.
Yep.
Maybe mini rebuild, sort of, and kind of taking a step back a little bit. You bring Lonzo Ball back into the mix. Still got Vucevic. You still got Zach LaVine. Still got Kobe White. You still got a bunch of your key role players, rather, and outside of DeRozan and Alex Caruso. So for this game, I mean, for the Knicks, you would think going in there. Where I believe this game's in Chicago, I believe. So
No, it's at MSG.
MSG, gotcha. So with this game being in New York, I would expect the Knicks to win, but I would say close game. Honestly, the Knicks and the Bulls played a bunch of close games last year, and towards the last game of the season, the Knicks had was to win for the 2 seed against the Bulls, and they had to win that game. That was a really close game. So I would expect, nonetheless, hopefully Lonzo Ball plays. Happy to see him back on the court. I did see that he did get hurt again, though, but I'm not sure what it was. But
I don't know either.
But nonetheless, I think for the Bulls, maybe playing team, probably not. But
it's hard.
Yeah, but
it's hard for me to really judge the Bulls. I don't think they're that good. And like you said, you lose DeMar DeRozan and Caruso. Like, you trade Caruso straight up for Josh Giddey. Like, I mean, I know that you had to get rid of him because, again, they're trying to rebuild. It's kind of hard for them to rebuild because, I mean, like, look at some of these players. Like, Vucevic, you're paying him a lot of money, and he's declining, so nobody's really biting on that. And Zach LaVine, like you remember all the Zach LaVine trade rumors last year. On top of that, mammoth contract and a trade kicker if he gets dealt too. Like, I think they have to give up assets to get rid of LaVine in his deal. And if you look at the Bulls, they've lost their last 2 games at the time of this recording. They lost to the Nets, who we all know are not that good, although they're not bad enough to be number 1 pick bad, so they're probably going to trade even more guys at the deadline. And they also lost to Utah, and that was Utah's first win of the season. So I actually think the Knicks are going to blow them out in this spot. Back home at MSG. Know the Bulls played you tough a couple times last year, but I just think you're clearly the better team, and you're going to go out there and dominate them. That's how I see it.
And the Knicks are the better team in this game. It's as simple as that. Chicago is nowhere near a championship level team, and I mean, I wouldn't say playoff. I would say maybe they're a play-in level team, probably at best, most likely, or just not even making the playoffs. But that's the case, rather. But with a lot of this coming up, it's a really important time of the season. Of course, Halloween just passed, and now looking ahead for the Knicks, and with the schedule coming up, of course, we've just talked a lot about that. So, really, what I think about this is, what's your prediction
of the overall games we looked at? I'm gonna say win versus Atlanta, win versus the Bucks. I'm gonna say win against the Pacers, lost to the Sixers, and beat the Bulls. I'm going to say 4-1, and that'll get them to 4-1. That gets them to 7-4 by the time that stretch is all said and done.
Which there's nothing wrong with, because like I said before, the Knicks are not going to win every game this year. It's not going to be perfect. You had a 50-32 season last year, and you're not going to win every game. So nothing's going to be perfect. Not every team that wins a championship is going to be undefeated. That's not how it works in this league. But nonetheless, we continue to roll on through the NBA season as the New York Knicks are continuing to rock and roll. Your 76ers are continuing to rock and roll.
They haven't rocked yet. They're just rolling down. But I would hope they'll start rocking soon when Embiid gets back.
Soon, hopefully, we'll rock up. Hopefully. Hopefully starting on Tuesday night when the Sixers play the New York Knicks. But we'll see what happens with all that. But to the point now, this episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, we've previewed some games, recapped some games, just like all our episodes as per usual, and the New York Knicks continue to roll on through the regular season here early on, currently playing the Atlanta Hawks as of this recording tonight, and then the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday. From here on Empire State Hoops, I'm Adam Rothschild. That's Matt Vargo. And we will see you next week. Have a great rest of your night.
Peace.